Handling death is never easy. So today I'm going to share 5 tips on how to help your spouse cope with the loss of a loved one. We all deal with the loss of a loved one at some point in our lives. As a newlywed, this can be very challenging as it puts pressure on our ability to bring comfort to our spouse in difficult times. Within the first year of our marriage, we experienced a major death in our family. My uncle passed away from a terrible disease. After a couple of weeks taking shifts, watching him, praying with him, and hoping for a full recovery with our family, he passed away. Whether the loss is expected or a total shock, the feeling of sadness washes over you like a wave. My mother called Luis and I with the news, and all we could do was cry and pray. In that moment, we had so many emotions to contend with: shock, sadness, guilt, pain, anger, and fear. It felt like the feeling would never end. But every day the feelings change. Some days are far worse than others. Some days, I don't know how to feel about it. Some days I forget. Some days I wake up from dreams as if my uncle were still alive. I can't say that every stage of grief has passed because it hasn't. What I can tell you is that we are there for each other, no matter what the day brings. So I hope to encourage us all with these tips. Okay, here are the 5 ways to help your spouse cope with the loss of a loved one. Number 1, pray. Do this immediately. God is able to handle everything that your spouse feels in that moment. Loss, like so many things, is out of your control. Throw this care at God first because He cares and understands the most about how you and your spouse feels. Number 2, be patient. I'll go through the stages of grief briefly, but this is a process. Let your spouse cry. Give them room to grieve in unique ways. Let them talk about it over and over. Your patience with your spouse can provide space and comfort for them. Number 3, be considerate. Consideration is key. Do not ever make your spouse feel like there is a limit on how they feel. It can be very detrimental to the process of grieving if at any point you make your spouse feel like they should be over it by now. Let your spouse be honest about how and what they feel. Do not judge. Be comfortable with silence. There will be awkward moments where you may not know how to respond to them, but go for the most considerate response, even if that is just to listen or hug them or give them time to themselves. Number 4, offer practical help. Ask how you can be of service. Offer to help more around the house or rub their feet. Also, be a spokesperson. They may not want to respond to everyone's inquiries, so be there to be a voice for them. And number 5, console, don't problem solve. This can be difficult because you want to save them from their pain. You want to be or find the solution that makes it all go away. But do not try to solve the problem. That may come off as judgmental. Rather, simply console them. You'll have discovered over time what are the best ways to bring solace to your spouse. Do the things that bring them comfort and assurance. To help with patience, here is a quick review of the 7 stages of grief. Stage 1, shock and denial. Your spouse may react to the learning of the loss with numbed disbelief. We do this to avoid feeling the pain of reality. The shock can be emotional protection from being overwhelmed. Stage 2, pain and guilt. As the shock and denial wear off, it can be replaced with the unbelievable pain. As unbearable as the pain may be, it is important to experience it. Your spouse may feel guilt about the last thing they said or didn't say, furthering feelings of regret. Things feel chaotic and scary in this phase. Stage 3, anger and bargaining. Frustration gives way to anger, and your spouse may lash out and blame others and/or themselves. They may ponder fate and ask, why me? Why them? Why now? Or they begin to bargain with God and suggest that if He takes the pain, they'll never do XYZ again. Stage 4, heaviness, reflection, and loneliness. Just when others assume your spouse should be getting over their grief, a long period of sad reflection may overtake them. During this time, your spouse finally realizes the true magnitude of their loss, and not much outside of comforting them will help. They may isolate on purpose and focus on memories of the past. Here there may be feelings of emptiness or despair. Stage 5, the upward turn. As your spouse starts to adjust to life without their loved one, their life becomes a little calmer and more organized. Physical symptoms lessen and the feeling of heaviness begins to lighten. Stage 6, reconstruction and working through. As your spouse becomes more functional, their mind starts working again, and they will find themselves seeking realistic solutions to problems posed by life without their loved one. They will start to work on practical and financial problems and reconstructing themselves and their life without him or her. Stage 7, lastly, acceptance and hope. Now your spouse learns to accept and deal with the reality of their situation. Acceptance does not always mean instant happiness, but they find ways to move forward. They start to plan ahead. Eventually, they will be able to think about their loved one without pain. There will still be sadness, yes, but the heartache will eventually subside. They will anticipate some good times to come, even experience joy again in the experience of living. Please keep in mind, there are no time limits on any of these stages. They may overlap or be slightly reordered, but it will always land on some level of hope. I hope you found these tips helpful. Helping your spouse through the loss of a loved one can be difficult, but it is possible. I'd love you to comment below and share your experiences. And if you're not a part of the Forever Newlywed community, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and share this video. I truly appreciate you all. Have a blessed and safe week, and I will see you next time, right here on Forever Newlywed.